Hello, this is Rex Irwin, and I chose scenario 4, which is PBIS, and I'm looking forward to giving you that information. So some of the PBIS basics, first of all, PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Intervention and Supports. It's a tool that's had positive impacts on school behaviors, and it's the idea behind it. It should be known that it's not necessarily like a system or like a kit that you use, but it's more of a framework used, and it provides best practices to improve your classroom and school, in regards to, behavior. Uh, and then finally, so PBIS, its reward system. Um, can often be it can be given as like a large group or to the to the individual. um the places that I've worked at that have used PBIS, we used a ticketing system, and the students would be able to turn those tickets in for rewards, or if you get a certain amount of tickets, you get an ice cream social at the end of a certain period of time. So, some more facts on PBIS. Right, it's an alternative to traditional discipl disciplinary practices, which might be more, a bit more heavier on suspension and things like that. It's been implemented quite largely, over the cross of 19,000 schools. It's a three-tier program, and it can be used for every student in the school setting. And if you look at this model here, tier one are universal. Um, it's for all students, right? And as you can see, culturally relevant. Um, and there's social skills training. It's positive and proactive discipline. Tier two, um, which are students so that are showing signs of troubling behavior, or they've these tier one supports just aren't working for them. um More intensive social skills training, how to manage themselves better, things like that are there. And then finally, your tier three is targeted intensive responding, right? So like everything I mentioned before, um, they still apply that training, but now it's more intensive. And they're still looking at alternatives to suspension and expulsion. So as far as an impact on discipline, I pulled from two articles, Bradshaw et al. 2012 and Simonson et al. 2021. So overall, school-wide decrease in disruptive behaviors have occurred. Um, Students with disabilities are suspended for fewer days on average compared to students who do not use PBIS. And then, there was one study, over multi-year PBIS implementation. Um, it showed there was a 33% reduction in disruptive behaviors after adapting PBIS. So that's a significant decrease. Which means, administrators are less tied up in discipline and more tied up in school functioning. Um, and then another piece that I thought was really important, PBIS is most impactful when children are introduced to it in kindergarten. Um, so, you're kind of getting your claws on them early, um, where the behaviors aren't as ingrained in them. Whereas if you try to implement this when they're 13 years old, um, they have they have 7 years of schooling that where you may have to retrain them. And that can be a pretty tall task. So professional development, first of all, you need buy-in from your leadership team. It helps to ensure that your PBIS will be implemented initially effectively. Um, Leadership team, would begin this training probably in the summertime. In Most of what I saw was about a week, um, to at least begin to get it off the ground for that first year. And then looking past that initial summer, trainings would be implemented during the year to different groups, and you had the families, students, and other teachers. Um, and then for um for our leadership team, the PBI strategies and how to link the three tiers together, will be taught, you know, really in that first year, and then even throughout the entire process. So your timeline for implementation. So this entire process, um, is seen to take about 3 to 5 years for a district and a school to become fully immersed in PBIS. With that said, um, PBIS, you can get the ball rolling on it quickly. Um, you can do all that pre-work in the summer, or maybe even in the spring before that first semester, and you can begin to roll it out in your school. Um, Obviously your teacher work day, um, you would most likely use a day, um, to really start that training. And then, your first day of school, um, you give your students a training, which they wouldn't know it's a training, but you basically go over the PBIS rewards with them, and it's, you say, based on, if you meet these behavior markers, you get your ticket, so on and so forth. Um, your training will occur throughout the year for your staff, on your professional development day, teacher work day, and then oftentimes in the summer, your leadership team, um, gets another set of trainings to maybe dive into maybe tier two, um, and learn that more effectively. And what I have, um, in this PowerPoint is a link to and it's a PD blueprint, um, that's used. And finally, these are my references, and I hope everyone enjoyed. Have a good day.